Welcome, gamers. This week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode number 208. Today is January 31st. My name is Craig Perales, and joining me today for his first episode of this year, Geno Perales.
Hey, first episode of the year and first episode in the new studio.
Yeah, I hope you guys have noticed that there's a little bit different background. We do have two different places we can kind of record, kind of testing them out. But I don't think we had Geno on last year. I tried to a couple times, but I remember this year we're like, no, we got to get him in the beginning of the year, January, and lo and behold, it's the end of the month, and we finally scooted you in.
I snagged it in January. The only thing I remember when I was watching it and everyone was moving, he failed to mention he moved in right next door to me. So it's been a blast having him right next door. It's been a blast coming over easily. We can see each other from the backyard.
We're neighbors now.
I got him a walkie-talkie so we can do some cool stuff. But yeah, we're next door neighbors now, which is kind of cool.
I actually set mine up. And I need to turn it on, and I have it plugged in. So whenever you want to me, you can. So
right now.
So to keep you guys satiated, before me and Andrew had our top anticipated games. Andrew put out his Fantasio review, Metaphor Ray Fantasio. But we were supposed to put this episode out a week or so ago, but Andrew unfortunately did. There's a big bug going around. I don't know if it's at where you guys are, but Andrew caught the flu. I was actually talking to him today to see how he's doing. He's still hurting. He's still not in work. He's still laying down. So apologies for it took so long, but I feel like it's always something. But here we are.
I'm here to fill in the gap.
So guys, before we get started, I do want to give a big shout out to our buddy Greg over at Game Over Retro Games, which if you're in town is on 1812 Highway 95. If you watched our end of the year video, we threw up a couple shots of going through his store. He actually has two. There's one that's mainly focused on video games and toys, and then another one that's next door that has a bunch of stuff, music, comic books, and everything like that. And it's been a real blessing in disguise because unfortunately where we live, every place that's been similar or at least runs in the family of what we like to look at, collect, go see, either fails, disappears, or just can't get its legs off the ground. Yeah. This place does a great job of having everything in stock. I'm buying Metal Gear toys there. I've bought some games already. The place next door to it has a bunch of stuff. We want to go check it out tomorrow. He's a big fan, and he actually plays some of our videos when we walk in there, which is awesome. I love this guy for it. So big shout out. Yeah. I want to go tomorrow, grab lunch maybe, and go check his store out.
He has a copy of Jade Cocoon 1 for PS1 that I want to grab.
Oh, you didn't get it?
No, I want to, but I will.
Yeah, he had a bunch of Metal Gear toys, and I snagged Sniper Wolf and Revolver Ocelot, and I wish I would have told him to hold Snake, because when I went back, it was already gone. I was like, damn it.
I reposted what he sent. He did like some type of thing on Facebook, and I reposted it. And so get there for Christmas, a bunch of people responded to it saying, where is this? So they don't know. So hopefully I got you some feet and traffic in the door.
Nice. So guys, if you are joining us on the YouTube, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. If you guys are interested in following us on our social media, our Linktree link is in the description. And if you guys are listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can check us out on your podcast platform of choice. So before we get started into our main stories, we like to do What Are You Up To?, where we take a quick second, talk about anything we've been watching, anything we've been playing. So, Geno, as you are my guest, what is your poison? What have you been doing?
So, a couple things. As far as watching, I just finished Castlevania Nocturne Season 2, I believe. If you've watched Castlevania, I mean, it holds up to the caliber of the show has been the whole time. It starts with Alucard. I mean, it's super gory, super, there's gods, there's magic. I mean, it's such a good show. There's not a lot too much telling that. If you've started it, please go out and finish the rest of it. I had a blast watching it.
Yeah, I remember I was watching. I've been telling Andrew to watch it now that he's sitting on the back burner. It started off like a banger, and it's so hard to tell if I like the first part versus the second part, because it goes Castlevania, then it goes Nocturne Season 1, now we have Nocturne Season 2. Dude, it's just good Castlevania, and if it does hit the Game Awards this year, I couldn't imagine that anything would beat it as the best adaptation, because this is pound for pound. You're watching Alucard, you're watching Victor Belmont's, like, it's fantastic. So definitely check it out. It's all on Netflix.
Yeah, I was talking to Denny. I'm like, I'm just finishing it. He's like, I was gonna start it, but I figured I'm going to start from the very beginning all over again just because it's that good. And I was like, and that way I'm totally refreshed going into it. That's the best way to watch it.
Yeah, and Castlevania, the first season, the first original Castlevania, I think it's only like 6 episodes. So then, or maybe 4, and then you get to season 1 of Nocturne, and I think they're both 9 apiece. So yeah, not too bad to run through.
Not too shabby. So as far as game goes, I had a nice little Christmas break. I took about 15 days off from Christmas through New Year's. And so one of my bucket list games was to finish, I've played Final Fantasy 1 through 10-2, and the only one I haven't really played is 6. And so it was on sale. It was old school. They did the Pixel remaster, so I started that. It's talked about as one of the greatest Final Fantasies. I mean, I'll give it credit. It's really good, but some of the stuff it had, I just wasn't quite used to with breaking up into different parties. And so I got a little flustered at the end because I leveled up this group to go through, and then at the end, I just break up into 3, and these other guys were super weak. So literally I had to go back and just do a grind fest on these other guys, which doesn't matter. Old school stuff. It kind of brought me back to the good old days. But I don't know. I'm just like, I'm used to like a 4-person, 5-person thing, not breaking up. But it was fun. Everyone had a good story. So I will give that game credit. I mean, if you haven't played it, Pixel Remaster, it's like $4.99, $5.99 with achievements and a lot of features added, which make it really
quality
doable.
of life
quality
stuff.
of lifestyle features, like turning off battles and being able to run faster, that kind of stuff. So finally got that knocked out. And then so my next game, this is what I started this year. I was kind of on the fence, and then Manju put it in his top 5. Craig told me to do it. Denny told me to do it, which is the new Indiana Jones game, which is developed by Machine Games, published by Bethesda, the first big game since the Bethesda acquisition. And I was a little weary of it because the first-person stuff, but as soon as you start playing it, it is a solid
Indiana
game, man. The way he talks, I mean, it's just like him. Like I was watching their episode, it doesn't sound like Harrison Ford. It sounds like Indiana Jones, and I'm having a blast. I think I'm getting towards the end, but I'm having a blast playing it. So thanks for the recommendations. I mean, if anyone hasn't played it, it's on Game Pass. Please play it.
Nice. So. Is that everything?
That's everything.
As far as what I've been up to, I started watching this show called American Primeval that's on Netflix, and it's about a mother and a son fleeing from their past, form a found family while confronting a harsh landscape of freedom and cruelty in the American West. But more specifically, it's set in 1857 during the Utah War. The series examines the fight to gain control of the American West and the violent clash between the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is the LSD Church, which is this whole group of Mormons, and cultures in the Utah Territory, which are a couple of Native American tribes and some settlers, centering on the events surrounding the Mountain Meadows Massacre. This show is fantastic. It's I think I said it was on Netflix. It's only 6 episodes. It's weird in terms of duration. Some episodes are an hour. It was like an hour to 36 minutes. So it's kind of all over the place in terms of how you can watch it. Probably under 4.5 hours. It's one of the most brutal shows I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I could say it's something along the lines of like a Game of Thrones, with any of the romanticism, without any of like the relationships. But there are these groups that are joining up with parties and betraying people, and more specifically, it gets to the point where you're watching it and there's characters that you like that just dead. Dude, it is fantastic. I'm already calling it now. It's probably going to be in my top 5 shows of the year, and it's only January 31st. I actually finished the last episode yesterday, and it ends with a banger. It's got Taylor Kitsch in it from Savages, and he played the Gambit in Wolverine Origins. It's got a lot of great characters who I didn't know, and if you watch it, it's got Jai Courtney in it, who was Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad, and if you watch Spartacus, he was Virus, I think his name was. He was his best friend. I didn't even know that was him until after the show was done. I was going through the credits. I was like, no shit. He
doesn't look like him in that picture.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's a really good show. Definitely check that out. As far as what I've been playing, I recently just finished Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown, which is a 2024 action-adventure game developed by Ubisoft Mount Pelaire and published by Ubisoft. Came out on January 18th. It's a solid game. It's a 2.5D side-scrolling Metroidvania. It's definitely tough in terms of it's a side-scroller Castlevania through and through, which usually isn't my genre, but that doesn't mean I don't play them. I have been Symphony of the
I
Night.
thought you loved them.
I thought you loved them. I like the Ori games. I like Child of Light. Last year, Tales of Kenzara was in my top 5 games of the year. But this game is... It's on a bigger scale than Tales of Kenzara by hugely. It's you can tell there's a lot of production value in it. There's a lot of cool boss fights. It's just some of the... I don't want to call them puzzles. The traversal of having to jump up, zip through, don't get hit by the rocks. It's way more tougher. But what I didn't know until the end, because I was watching, because once I beat the game, I was kind of going back and with all the powers trying to unlock some stuff. If you're stuck on some of the traversal, you can turn on a warp portal that'll get you through that. And I didn't know that because I was watching this video
old school
of this guy trying to find this thing, and he warps across it. I was like, whoa, what the hell is that? And I looked it up, and it's like, oh, there's a warp thing. So if you are having trouble with it, you can definitely do that, and I probably would have made my gameplay a lot easier. Yeah, it's definitely the way to play, especially if you're new to it. It's very welcoming to newcomers. I also think you can scale the damage and stuff like that, so you can definitely make it an easy game versus a normal and a hard game. So that was a lot of fun. You play this guy named Sargon, who's part of the Immortals, and the storyline is basically the prince gets kidnapped, and you need to go find him, and you get to this place that has weird things happening with time. So if you're familiar with Prince of Persia, it's really about like time manipulation and things like that, where he's running into people that he's only been there in real time a couple of days, where people have been in there what they think is 10 years, like the people you go in there with, one of them's been in there for 10 days, one of them's been there for a year. So it's got a really cool story on a really big scale. So it's got good puzzles, solid boss fights, like I said, difficult traveling, but the mods will help. A lot of collectibles. I don't think I've uninstalled it yet. I kind of want to go back and get some stuff. So if you haven't checked out Prince of Persia, now is the time to
It's funny you say that, because we were talking about Indiana. You guys were like, I wish I would have just played this story first and went back to get the collectibles. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do that. And as soon as I started seeing collectibles, I'm like, ooh, what's over here? Now I can explore the whole thing.
It's that OCD. It's that checkbox stuff.
I'm going everywhere just trying to get these little notes or whatever. So
yeah,
I tried to do it.
You said you're at the tail end of the game?
I think so. You know where I'm at.
Well, I don't know if you got any further.
I just got to the jungle.
The jungle. Okay, yeah. So you're getting close to the end. Because in the beginning, when I was in Rome, dude, I was there for so long just because I wanted to make sure I got everything. Huge. And eventually, I was just like, no, it's time to go. So
yeah.
Awesome. So guys, leave down in the comments below what you've been watching, what you've been playing, and I would love to read it. So with that being said, guys, let's get into our main story, and that is that the Xbox Developer Direct was the beginning of kickoff of 2025. It was about 50 minutes long. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. There's 2 of them you can look at. One of them is just a compilation of just all the gameplay that was shown. The full version is the one that has all the behind the scenes with the developers, which has a lot of cool
insight. Which is the way you should watch it.
Yeah, which is definitely the way you should watch it. But I know there's certain people that just like to see what was talked about. It has 4 different studios and what games they were bringing to Xbox. But more importantly, that I got to stress to people, it wasn't really so much Xbox. A few of these games are going to be coming to PlayStation. It was more that this was all day one Game Pass stuff. And I got to say, they were a lot of good, interesting stuff. I was very excited to see it. It really just shows that the Game Pass isn't taking any breaks this year. And a lot of these had dates, and we'll get into those in a bit. So before we dive into it, how did you like it? Because I know you just recently watched it. Was there anything that kind of blew your mind? Was there anything that you weren't too sure on that maybe caught you up and you're like, oh, that game looks cool? Where do you land on that?
So full disclosure, when they said we're doing the Direct, I didn't watch it until I had to watch it because I wanted to...
You want to be fresh.
I like watching the show and then hearing the recap and then going back through. So all the stuff I do write down and talk about, it is my first reaction. I did like it. The only thing is with me, the beginning, it's in Japanese, I'm assuming. So you have to read the subtitles. So I had Grayson kind of running around a little bit. So it was kind of hard switching back and forth.
Grayson's the best gamer.
I know, but when they do show the gameplay, and so when I'm stuck on there, I'm not reading the subtitles because the gameplay on the games they did show were amazing. So then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch. What the fuck are they saying? Okay, cool, blah blah blah. But I thought it was a lot of fun, and you don't get to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff like that. I don't think. Yeah. At least I don't. And I thought it was tight. I thought everything was good, right? I thought it was really good.
Excellent, because that's what I thought. I thought everything on there was. I was like, I want to play.
One of them I really enjoyed watching. We'll talk about that one when it gets up there.
Excellent. So I just want to point out before we get into each of them, it says, because I'm reading this from news.xbox, and in addition to all these games having Xbox Cloud Gaming, All the games in our show also support X-Play Anywhere, meaning when you buy them through the store on Xbox or Windows, they're yours to play on Xbox and Windows PC at no additional cost, and your game progress and achievements are saved across Xbox and the PC. So, I'm going to read it the way they had it because this is the way I liked it, and I also thought that this is the way the direct should have went. They started off with, I mean, there's no secret about what games they are. You guys can see the cover. They started off with Ninja Gaiden, and they ended with Doom, and I thought that was the wrong move. I thought Doom should have been their opener, their big banger. Started off heavy, and then drop it with something that nobody thought was coming. We all knew Doom was coming. Nobody really thought Ninja Gaiden was coming, so I wish that was kind of my only hiccup with the direct, is that I think they just sort of swapped out the beginning and the end.
I liked it better that the subtitles were all done in the beginning, and then I could just coast through the rest of it. I like that. I got that out of the way early, so I'm kind of maybe I'm on the reverse of that.
Yeah, you silly. So with that being said, guys, let's start it off with the first game they showed off was Doom: The Dark Ages, which is launching in May 15th, 2025 across the Xbox, across PC, Steam, and PlayStation day one on the Xbox. And here's just a quick synopsis of what it is. Doom: The Dark Ages, a prequel to the critically acclaimed Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, is set in a dark fantasy sci-fi world with Doom's immediately recognizable hellish twist. In the segment, 3 core pillars of the game were explored. Combat, which dug into deadly new weapons of mass destruction the Slayer can wield. Exploration, which offered a glimpse at an incredible new medieval-inspired setting that will take players to never-before-seen dark and sinister realms. And story, which gave an overview of the characters and stakes the Slayer will face in his journey to turn the tide of war. So this was definitely, because this was their ending, this was the biggest behind the scenes they were showing. It was the biggest segment that they had. And one of the things I just want to point out that I loved that they said is that when you compare all 3 of them together, that the first one, the original Doom in 2016, was kind of more of a run and gun. Doom Eternal was a jump and shoot. And they say that this one's going to be a more stand and fight game, where the Slayer is going to be more of an iron tank who's going to be solid, heavy, but also fast. So when you're watching this, them showing off, the combat is crazy, and they showed off a few
like all of them.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff, and obviously the most noticeable is the shield saw, or the saw shield, which is able to block, throw, parry, and deflect. Dodge, slip, and dive. I talked about it in our most anticipated game, so there's only a little bit more I can say about it, but what were your first thoughts of looking at Doom? I mean, have you played Doom and
I've only played
Doom
2016.
Eternal? I haven't played Doom Eternal yet. Okay, nah. So what they also said is it's a perfect blend between all of them. So if you haven't played any of them, you could do them 1, 2, and then do the prequel, or wait and do prequel 1, 2. So now's the perfect time to do Eternal to get ready for this one coming out. But what were your thoughts?
So I did write down a couple things. The biggest thing I wrote down was stand and fight ! Because when you played 2016. It's not like a Gears 5 or a Halo. You have to be running and gunning or you're dead. And that's just the way it is. And so you have to adapt your playstyle. I like the stand and fight. So and I never played number 2. I didn't know it was a jump and shoot, but I wrote that down. So I like it's a stand and fight. You're a heavy dude. You're going into the melee, but you're still fighting and doing all that good stuff. So they talked about a lot. So a couple things I took away from it and was the shield saw, obviously. The skull machine gun, which I think you guys talked about a little bit, where it's just feeding these skulls into it. I mean, the visuals on that was just epic. But the one thing I really liked, it was they said it was a Doom for all Slayers, which is the first game that has a difficulty progression where you can actually turn it down and you can actually turn it up faster. And the other ones did not have that. So if you're a newer player and you want to dip your toes, you can put it. This is the first game you actually put it on kind of in easy mode, which I thought was really cool. Get your foot wet and go through. The other 2 things that I really took away that I think we'll talk about is they introduced the Gundam, dude, or I say Gundam. The 30
I call it the
Doombot, dude, and I'm watching it because it comes on, the metal's clanging, it's going through, they're like, and then this thing comes on, dude, and this is really where I like stop writing notes, and I'm just like, what the heck?
It's like the Megazord.
Dude, and then they said there's a fighter pilot dragon that you gotta so they're offering a bunch of cool new things. It's a medieval time point.
They aren't one-offs. So it's going to be part of the game.
We absolutely love it. The heavy metal's there. I forget what they said. It's completely developed by the same team, I think, who did the last one. But that was my biggest thing. The heavy metal's there. They added a great new complex, new guns. The stand and fight mechanic, I do like that they switched it up. I mean, I don't want to just run and gun. We had that game. I love that that's it. And dude, it's like you're going to be durable and just be able to break shit. And the visuals on it are just epic. I mean, I can't put that past enough. It was a gorgeous game. It was a great take on it.
Yeah, and one of the cool things too that they showed is that with the shield being able to block and defend, that there's going to be, because they said this is one of the most innovative versions of the guns they've had, but they also wanted to incorporate some badass melee fighting, and they showed off the iron flail, which looked dope. The electric gauntlet.
Like, we've seen the show. How about you take a flail?
The
way these two dudes talked while they were doing it was just hilarious too. I loved it.
Yeah, the electric gauntlet that they showed, and then the Doom mace. And then they said that they're going to introduce a new glory killing system. So when you're battling, there's going to be unique ways to kill all of them. It looks fantastic. And I think they said there's going to be a little more different ways to travel. So instead of just being a linear path, it's still going to be A to B, but it's going to be like A 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 to get to B. There's not just going to be one direct route.
So I did touch base on that. They focus on three things: combat, exploration, and story. So I wrote down the exploration. They said a full sandbox feel. So you are going to be able to explore and do things in patterns that you want to do. But I was also impressed with how many boards it had. It showed forests, dungeons, caves. I mean, it showed a bunch of different environments. I mean, it was actually
inhale, exhale.
It was so the variety of environment you're going to be in. It's not you're just going to be in a volcano where everything's blowing up. It actually showed some frost, some forest, some dungeons that you have to go through. So they did really put the exploration as a key part of the game, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be the biggest one we talk about, just because it had the most to show. But if you, like I said, if you guys haven't played any of them, now's the time to do it. The other two are going to be on Game Pass, so you might as well. They're both fantastic. As far
that's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
I did have a quick question.
Yeah,
because they do say it's available day one, but they were kind of excited that you could download it today. So as a regular person, what's the difference between downloading it today versus the day it comes out?
Well, if maybe I'm missing,
I mean, just in general.
Well, generally, what you can do is you can just pre-install it.
Okay,
so you don't have to wait day one.
Okay.
Well, I know, because I think there's another one like South of Midnight that we're gonna get into next, and maybe it's something like this. Is if you pre-order it and download it now, you can get it a couple days early. So, like for example, I think South of Midnight is a game where. Let's see. If you pre-order it today and get it installed,
so sometimes you get a little bonus.
You can play up to 5 days early. I guess I'd have to double check that again, but it's just when you can already have it installed in your on your console. But yeah, as far as what bonus for you go, I mean, maybe it's a couple days early, but yeah, I'd have to double check that. I totally missed that part. So if you guys know down below, or let us know down below in the comments. Down below. As far as what the next game was South of Midnight. So this is by Compulsion Games, and they took us behind the scenes at their studio of Montreal, Canada, to learn more about South of Midnight, which is releasing on April 8th of 2025. As far as I can tell, I believe this one, as of right now, is only on Xbox and Windows PC and Steam. So this one so far isn't on the PlayStation, but hey, give it time. In Compulsion's segment, we learn more about the journey of Hazel. Ooh, excuse me. The game's protagonist, which leads her into a darkly magical world where she discovers her new abilities as a weaver. Her story is filled with macabre Southern Gothic folklore and encounters with mythical, larger-than-life creatures that shape her growth and understanding of her newfound powers. So I thought this was actually really interesting, and this was the one that I had to remember. I'm like, because I know we talked about it a few episodes back last year, but I kind of forgot about it. And even one of my most anticipated, I kind of forgot about it. This kind of put it back on the map for me. And when you get into things like this, it's always fun doing Greek mythology, Norse mythology and things like that. I don't really know what Southern folktales are. So when you start looking at some of this, it's a really cool thing, especially the catfish that pops up. It's going to be really cool to kind of see what those Southern folktales are all about. The biggest thing that catches your eyes, it has a very unique art style, which they said is inspired by stop motion, and they're really focusing on Southern Gothic things. So I don't know. You saw the trailer, and we'll get into some of the travel and the weapons, but how'd you like the art style? What do you think of the overall tale?
That was the first thing that caught my eye was the art style, because when they were doing it, reminded me of Coraline.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was stop motion. I'm like, wow, this really kind of does look like that, but I wonder what they're trying to do.
I just thought it had bad frames per second.
Well, because like the trailer kind of was smooth, and then it went to these, and they're kind of like, I don't know. So it kind of reminded me of that, but I'm glad you said stop motion, because that's exactly what it is. And through the trailer, the lady's like, we're keeping our art style moody compulsion, which is a new term that I never heard, so I wrote that down.
Perfect.
So a couple things that stood out when I actually did watch this. Third-person action adventure, Southern Gothic themes with a dark fantasy twist. I mean, that instantly has me. I put a little star on there.
It's got Perales written all over it.
It has, and it said, music enhances as fight continues throughout the battles, which I kind of like that. Each area is guarded by mythical creatures, so it's kind of cool that as you're traveling through this story, that you're going to get mythical creatures of Southern folklore, and you're going to get a backstory. So it's like when they show the crocodile, I was like, I want to know what the crocodile is doing. So I mean, it's just new stuff we haven't heard done in a Southern twist. When I was seeing the fighting, it kind of reminded me of like a Dante's Inferno or a God of War, so like but with an RPG kind of element, because there was some abilities she can learn. She's a weaver. She's connected to people, nature, the past. So overall, it sounds like a good package. And as far as the trailer goes, I was actually really impressed. And then when they went behind the scenes and kind of talked a little bit more about it, kind of flushed it out, I think it's going to be a grade A game. I'm definitely interested and want to play this game.
Yeah, I like that you bring up that, because it says that, this is supposed to be like a supernatural meets mystical, and which obviously sounds good. And it's like, she is going and she's collecting information about these bosses that are corrupted, and she needs to heal. I think they're called echoes, and she needs to kind of figure that out. So as Geno said, she's a weaver, and she's got these weapons that are really, really unique. And if I heard it correctly, she's got a spindle that she uses to weave, and that helps her create things and unravel things. And then she's got 2 weaving hooks that she can use for combat, as well as what I believe was called a distaff. So it looks like she's got a very unique set of gear. She's not just a sword and shield arrow type heroine. She's got really things that are unique. So if you're playing D&D kind of, it's like it's unique to her class as a weaver. She's got these special kind of weapons, and the more you look at it, it looked pretty badass.
Yeah, because once you said that, I wonder if those type of weapons are close to that folklore, because there was a screenshot, and now that you say that, I remember this lady's talking, like, we tried to keep it as close to folklore as possible, which I don't know what that is, and they showed a tree with glass bottles on it, and it's like that symbolizes like to keep away the demons and stuff. So we're going to learn a lot of things that probably most people don't know. That's what I'm saying, and that's always interesting in a game like this.
Yeah, so that looked really, really cool. The travel is also something. It's nothing new, but it looked pretty clean in this game. It looked really fast. She's got the ability to do a gliding technique. She can do the wall run. She's got the double jump. The conjuring looked pretty cool. And at the end, we got to see how her combat, when she fights what's called, my handwriting's chicken scratch. The Haints, I believe they were, whatever that name was for those enemies. There's different versions of them. Is that what they were? Did you have it?
No, I just can't read it either.
Well, sometimes I write it at night, and I'm jotting it down while I watch stuff.
Hawks?
So, they all are unique in terms of how their ability to fight, as well as their strengths and weaknesses. So they're really showing off combat in terms of going, you might want to attack somebody, fast, strong, and hard here, but make sure you back out and hit him from range here, because that technique's not going to work.
So this element on this person, and it's stringing along combos.
That was it. Looks like combos is going to be a really big thing. So combo breaker. So I don't know. I thought it looked fantastic, and I cannot wait. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, for that, I'm really interested in that art style and playing a game with that much history. I mean, it's going to be a good game.
Nice. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, leave that down below. The next game was Clair Obscure Expedition 33, which got a launch date of April 24th. This is another game that shows only so far on the Xbox, Windows, and PC. Day 1 Game Pass, so again, not mentioned on PlayStation yet, but again, that's not saying that it won't be. So, this is, as we visited Montpellier, France, home of the Sandfall Interactive, as they developed their first game, Clair Obscure Expedition 33. This turn-based RPG is set in a fantasy version of late 19th century France, where the world is facing an existential threat 1 year at a time. The developer shared a deeper look into the game's innovative mechanics, such as the reactive turn-based system and the unique art direction that brings the game's world to life. We even got the first look at Expedition 33's expansive overworld map. Now, this was a game, if you watched our most anticipated, this was on Andrew's list, that it kind of snuck by me.
This was the one that took me the most.
I think so as well, because I think it did a lot. The first thing, too, if you're watching the behind the scenes, I think this one had the best thing to get to know the developers. Their story was, was awesome. It started off with this one guy that kind of had this idea, got a hold of some friends. One guy quit his job day 1, came and worked on it. So, that was the love letter that I loved. I'm like, dude, these are guys that are 100% passionate. As far as what they showed, it was very extensive. It showed off these very heavy mechanics. Again, they have this new reactive turn-based system, which to me kind of looks like East meets West in a combat system. And one of the biggest takeaways I saw, which you don't see too often anymore, Geno kind of just came off of one, but it's a Final Fantasy VI game from Super Nintendo, is they have an overworld map system. And the last kind of game...
They're very excited to do
that. The last kind of game I remember doing that was when we played Tiny Tina, and they had the D&D where she was crawling the board. So for those who aren't familiar with overworld maps, and I'm sure most of you guys watching are, instead of just traveling around in a linear path or like God of War and you got hubs you can go to, this is actually, you go on top of a world, walk around, there might be some things to interact with, but then you click down to go into it. And then I forget the guy's name, maybe you have it written down, but your airship seems to be, what is his name? Esky, who is this big balloon type creature that is going to serve as kind of your airship. So for me, when I was watching it, I'm like, dude, this throws me back to some good old school JRPG. But then you watch even more of how the combat works and the team and what the overall story is about, and how these people every year it clicks down and people of that age die. And this year, this game takes place on 33. So this for me, this game, the only hiccup is this game looks too good. That there's got to be something up with it, so I'm curious.
Come on, man!
Come on, yeah!
Give me something.
So I don't know. What do you think, buddy?
No, so when this is the game I'm most anticipated from this whole direct. Comes out in April, which is right around the corner. So a couple things I wrote down, like the game and then the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes thing, they're zooming into this mansion and like, oh, watch this team work on their first game ever in our France Mansion. And I'm like, dude, that's badass, and the team's huge. So. The main dude who made it, he says he loves JRPGs, so instantly it's a throwback to the stuff that we all love. There's going to be levels, and you can instantly see that on there, so I love that. He's like, it's a passion project. I wrote out to a programmer to kind of get my idea going. It started evolving. Then I sent it to my old college friend who quit his job that week, and then the team just started growing. So like instantly, I'm like, dude, there's love, there's everything behind that. So I'll just go down the couple things that I wrote. The concept of a paintress and an obelisk show up, and then I don't know if it's every year or every 2 years, she writes a number, and it always goes down. And it is like Thanos. As soon as it hits that number, if you're older than that number, you're instantly dead. So the concept is just something that is very cool to think of. People are getting younger, so you only have so many of these expeditions before people start just being kids. My thing is it only the humans? Because they start showing the game, and there are other creatures in this. So I'm curious of like how the connection is with humans. So I thought I'm very interested to see how that goes. The concept was amazing. The other thing too was the battling, because there is a huge system written by the Lumina system that offers passive effects, and it balances out fights. So they said that it was so hard at one point that they did hardcore that they did have to rebalance it. And so there is a strategy for people who, he said it's all about timing moves and doing that. And there is a way to play a game like that. He said, or you can go into leveling up your items, getting good passives, and then do a good strategy.
I love it.
So there's different versions of the game that you can play. Where the guy said, he's like, oh, I use this girl as the overall protector of the thing, but everybody else plays her as the glass cannon. So it almost seems like there's hundreds of different ways you can build each character, and the way that you could do the passive abilities really seems like it's something I want to sink my teeth into.
All right, bravo.
So the other thing I wrote on was the Esqui kind of looked like Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
Baymax. Like the Spirit Away guy. Ooh, the way he was doing. And then there was Monaco, who was the other guy in there, the kind of monkey dude with the red thing on his face. I forget the race of species he was, but he helps guide them through different things. So the fantasy aspect is there. The other thing too with the full overhead map is at the end he's like, we were really dedicated to doing the JRPG overhead map. So there are going to be, he's like, if you want to fight the hardest bosses and find the coolest gear, there is an exploration to it. So you got to use Esqui to fly over. He's like, it's all about exploration and getting more gears. It just fires on so many cylinders. The only other thing I wrote down was there was a guy on there, Nicholas Maxon, at the very end, who reminded me of Percy from Vox Machina. His hair, the way he stood, his glasses. So I'm like, I don't know why I wrote that down, but I'm like, Nicholas, Percy from Vox Machina. So
that's funny. Oh,
So go for no. Other than that, I said the game looks freaking amazing.
Okay, speaking of Vox Machina, and the new book that I got, in the back is an old school. The back of the book, there's a painting on it, and it's the old school original Vox Machina team. I gotta show it to you when you leave. Yeah, it's Geno did an excellent job in explaining this game. Like I said, Andrew was one of his most anticipated game.
It's not my most anticipated.
I feel what's cool is that, again, I liked it. The two games that caught my eye the most, South of Midnight and Expedition 33.
RPG elements.
I'm just kidding. I'm calling it Expedition 33. I'm not doing the whole name. But so far are just Xbox exclusive so far.
Oh,
so good. A lot of people that are so far, but a lot of people that are still hesitant that Xbox is just kind of throwing all their meat to the wolves. At least there's 2 games so far they're going to launch, in the summer that are going to be just for you. So
and me.
So with that being said, guys, let's move into the last game, which was their first game they showed off, which was a Ninja. How do you pronounce it? Gaiden or Gaiden?
I say Gaiden.
Gaiden. I always said Ninja Gaiden, even though I'm sure it is Gaiden.
I bet you do.
I'm sure it is Gaiden.
I have a little funny story about it at the end.
Okay. Which is launching fall 2025. It's the only one that didn't have a hard date, but it is so far confirmed. It will be on Xbox, PC, Steam, Cloud, PS5, but it'll be day one on the Game Pass. So this one's a little bigger. Let me get into this. Team Ninja announced the return of a beloved franchise with the reveal of Ninja Gaiden 4. After more than a decade, the masters of action at Team Ninja and Platinum Games have partnered with Xbox Game Studios Publishing to bring us exciting new chapter in the Ninja Gaiden series, a series with a long history on Xbox. We were introduced to Yakumo, a new protagonist whose objective lies at the heart of a devastated Tokyo. On his mission, Yakumo will not only encounter fiends and demons, but also the legendary master himself, Ryu Hayabusa. Gameplay footage showed that Yakumo will introduce players to a stylish new take on ninja action with bloodbind ninjutsu alongside legacy techniques like the flying swallow and Izuna drop. Ryu will also return as a playable character with a revamped arsenal that stays true to his signature brutality and precision. Now, this one is kind of the hardest one to gauge because Ninja Gaiden games are notoriously known for being extremely difficult games, so I'm not really familiar with them. And my biggest problem looking at it, because the game looks absolutely stunning, but when you look at something like this of going, oh, it's Ninja Gaiden 4, I haven't played 1 through 3. Oh, it's a brand new character, is that, and he's going to run in with the original guy, is that going to hurt? If only there was a way to play something that kind of maybe caught me up a little bit on the storyline that I can get familiar with. And lo and behold, did they drop a shadow drop and did Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which was available right now for anybody to play on the Game Pass. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is a remaster of, because again, the titles are really weird. When you start going back and looking at the Ninja Gaiden Sigmas and Blacks and Sigma Alpha, all that stuff, it's a little hard, but as far as I can tell, it's the remaster of the 2000, it's either 4 or 2008 original 2 and Black Sigma. So it's a combination of having both of those, the best mechanics of each of those games, put into this one. And this one is essentially going to be the definitive edition that you can get your hands on now. We'll talk about that one here in a second. But as far as number 4 goes, it looks fantastic. Now, if you guys aren't really familiar with Team Ninja, they've got a lot of stuff under their belt. They do the Dead or Alive. Obviously, they do the Ninja Gaidens. They've made Metroid Other M. They've done Hyrule Warriors. They've done Fire Emblem Warriors, which is a game I beat. They did the Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which is a game me and Andrew, I think, both tried playing and couldn't really get into. But they also recently just did Rise of the Ronin, which I beat, which was in my top 5 game of the year. So I'm super happy about it. But the part that I know a lot of people are kind of interested in, so that it's not so much Team Ninja making it a hard game, is they're co-developing it with Platinum Games. Platinum Games are the guys who developed, which I just beat last year, which Bayonetta, and which is fantastic, quick-paced action, but not on that hard-scale difficulty. And they do Vanquish, which is another game I beat. They did Astral Chain, which did fantastic on the Switch. They're responsible for the Nier Automata games. So what's Automata? So when you got these two teams developing it, it's got a lot of comfortability with people. And the way they were kind of talking about it is that it looks like this game isn't going to be on that scale of extreme difficulty. It's going to be something that is welcoming to new players as well as old, but they made a distinct thing. I think they said it 2 or 3 times that this game is going to be challenging on something that makes sense. So anyone playing it is going to be, it's not going to be a walk in the park, but it's not going to be beat your head over senselessly. So that's kind of as much as I can say. It looked fantastic. The new character looked cool. The fact that you're going to be playing between both of them, I think is really awesome. And they went out of their way to make sure that these guys have distinct styles. Because as far as I can tell, as much as I read, they're warring clans, I believe. They're not on the same team.
Yeah,
I
wrote down Raven clan for I think it's Yakuza.
Well, he would, I think, on that, and then the other one would be the Hayabusa clan. So. So that's what I got to say on Ninja Gaiden 4. Anything else you want to add?
So he did a good job about explaining the background. I'm not familiar with any of them. I mean, we had the Nintendo one, and I'll get into the story. Like, I remember what he looks like, obviously, and I remember playing a little bit.
You're thinking of Shinobi.
Maybe it was Shinobi. So I'll just go over kind of the thoughts and some of the stuff I wrote down. So when it came on, instantly you see this huge dragon behind it, and I instantly thought Dragon Ball. I'm like, oh dude, this is kind of like it's big Shenron, the way it's wrapped around. So the art style instantly when you're playing this is badass. And basically I wrote down Ninja versus Dragon equals Save Tokyo. So I really thought that was cool because you can't go wrong with ninjas and dragons. It kind of felt, I don't know if cyberpunky is the right word, but there was a lot of color. And the way it was stylized, and then it was dark when it needed to be. Like, it had a good mix of going back and forth. So I wrote that down. One of the cool things he said is because this dragon is destroying Tokyo, as you're playing the game, it's not going to be a static game. So you're not going to be able to go back from here to here and it looks the same. The world is actually going to be broken down as you're accelerating through the game. So it might not be the same building or place, or might have to get there a different way. So I thought the concept of an ever-changing game, and I don't know how fast that is. It could be, once you hit different parts, it could be time.
Chapter 1,
the concept is cool. The other thing they said they introduced a new concept, which is instant kills. So during the attack, so they're still going to do the chain combos and everything, but there will be, this is the first Ninja Gaiden that'll actually have an instant kill in part of the combo. So they are adding new features and being innovative, so I thought that was super cool. If we're going into number 2 at all?
Yeah.
So going into number 2,
the Shadow Drop game.
The Shadow Drop game. They both look gorgeous. I wrote down a couple things that actually so the story is so when it ended on 1, it goes fall 2025, and it looked like it ended. And then so I kind of looked away, talked to Grayson, and another game started. And I thought it was another game. I didn't know it was so it's playing. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a ripoff of, like, are they doing two Ninja games? I'm like, this kind of looks really similar. Like, yeah, I can see the differences. I'm like, actually, graphically, I actually really liked it almost better. And some of the ways they were showing the fighting, I'm like, this game I actually want to play maybe a little bit more. And it came up, Ninja Gaiden remastered, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, shit, okay, that's why it looks so similar. But totally got sidetracked. And then I went back, and I'm like, okay. So I thought they were ripping them off, but all they did is 2 games for the price of 1. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
So as they showed the Shadow Drop of it, caught a lot of people off guard. So you got pretty much 2 for 1 with this.
You're the ninja, they say.
You're the ninja.
That's what they say.
I actually started it today. I was curious. I'm like, you know what? Let me download it. Let me play a little bit. Today, yeah, let me get a little taste. Hey, let me get a little taste. Let me get something sweet.
Little tay-tay.
And I beat chapter 1, so let's just say I'm on chapter 2. And it's I guess there's a few different modes. I know they're hard, so they've added a new mode that's an because there's normal, hard, and harder. They've added an easy mode, so I started on that because I'm not going to pretend that I'm good.
That you're a real ninja.
Yeah, that I'm good at any of that because there's a lot of enemies. There's a lot of people that break attacks, and it does take a little bit of difference to get used to it because the action just starts right up, and the combat is extremely fast. But there's a difference between fast and fluid games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta versus chaotic fighting, which is what Ninja Gaiden is. It's just constant. You've got to be able to look around you because anyone can just break your attack. Even guarding doesn't really do a ton. So playing it so far, it's pretty awesome. Even when you're doing the combat, dude, you can start fighting people and you can start chopping off their arms and they'll switch their hand to their sword. And dude, there'll be people that lose legs and they'll start crawling after you. So again, I'm not.
Because it is demons they're fighting, right?
Well, in the beginning, I've only ninjas, so I didn't. I mean,
there'll be whole ninja.
Then there'll be whole ninja.
That's cool.
But I've seen some of the boss fights. It gets way more supernatural kind of looking, but. There's multiple weapons in it. You've got ninja stars or shurikens. You've got these fire explosion techniques. There's build-up attacks. It's really fun so far. So if you are interested in getting a taste of, because number 2, the reason why you could go, oh, how come there's number 1? Why didn't they do number 3? Number 2 is widely considered the best Ninja Gaiden of the 3D retellings of them. So they started with that. So if you are interested in seeing kind of what it's going to be like, keep in mind the new one, it says will be more welcoming to newcomers, but this was a good one, and that was what I was hoping when I was watching 4. I'm like, man, I wish there was a way to play it. They shadow dropped this. It was a banger, and that's why I thought they should have ended with it. Anytime you have a shadow drop game, you should end with something like that.
Does that mean they didn't know it was going to be in the direct? Is that what shadow drop means?
Yeah, so what it was they had the 3.
I keep hearing this word.
And they didn't know it was going to be Team Ninja. So when Team Ninja did it, and they showed Ninja Gaiden 4, because they did a really good job of nothing leaking. And then, so everyone didn't know Ninja Gaiden 4 was coming. There was rumors and speculation, but that wasn't going to be shown. And then they dropped 2. So you got 2 games for 1 on something you weren't sure that even what the first one was about. So
I dropped a 2 yesterday.
So, anything else you want to say on that?
No, for a game I'm not super familiar with or have not any experience with it, they both looked extremely well. They're both games I think I'm going to play for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, download it today. So,
don't you whale me.
With that done and out of the way, guys, let's move into our final topic today, which is going to be discussing the Switch 2, which had a couple things we can kind of talk about, which the first one I want to just get off the plate is the name, which I think a lot of people were kind of hoping for the name Super Switch. I think that would have been really cool. You've already done something like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Wii U, the Switch, and the Super Switch. I think would have been awesome instead of just calling it the Switch 2, because not only do I think that it's boring, it's that Nintendo's usually known for coming up with kind of creative names, where we already have PlayStation that does these kind of uniform numerical names 1 through 5. You have Xbox that has weird names that don't make any sense. Where I'm not opposed to the Switch 2, but all I look at is going, okay, so if you make the next one, is it going to be a Switch 3? Let's say the next one folds. Is it going to be the Nintendo Fold? And this is going to be the only name out of all your lineup that has a numerical order. Not that it matters, but it's a little gripe to me where it's like, unless you're going to start moving that direction. I just thought the Super Switch would have been something really cool, because if it's a one-off, then it kind of sucks that it's a numerical, but...
Well,
what's up? Yeah.
What
are you going to say?
What? So it's the first time I've heard Super Switch. I think would have been an amazing name. The only thing is, when you're in a mucky world of Xbox X, Xbox Series S, Series X, Xbox X, like... When it's coming due with a brand new system, they don't want to fool around. They don't like this is the Switch 2. Like,
right, but they've never done that. We already have PlayStation doing that.
But my thing is, like, if you made a Super Switch and you have a grandparent maybe going out to maybe buy it for someone, they don't want any confusion. This is the next one. Now, if they do, like, if they don't do a Fold, but they do a Switch 3, that would be really cool content.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them doing that.
I think Xbox messed up names so badly that it's nice to just say, hey, this is number 2, so grandma and grandpa don't have to go out and buy.
Yeah, but that's like saying, okay, but there was also the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, the GameCube, the Wii, the Switch. It's like they already had names that didn't mean anything.
I know, but Xbox, dude, tore so many. They destroyed naming for me.
So anywho, that's just kind of the big thing I wanted to talk about, because I know me and Andrew were hyped on Super Switch, and I think that would have been
Super Switch would have been amazing. That being said, I prefer Super Switch.
But so with that being said, if you're looking at it from a 2 concept, it is just a bigger, better version of the Switch. So just talking about the look, the trailer kind of came out and you could see it. It showed off all the Joy-Cons, the size it's going to get, the kickstand that it has, and
it looked great.
Yeah, because it had a lot of leaks that were coming out before, so this kind of just dropped kind of out of nowhere, but it had to quell some of the thoughts and speculation that was going around, because we were waiting for a long time to see what is the Switch 2 about, so they kind of just quietly dropped it, and there it was. It's definitely a bigger machine, which I think is perfect. I don't like... It's too uncomfortable for me. Like, there's so many people, and I know it's mainly for kids. A lot of females play it, but I cannot play it in handheld mode for long. I usually play it dock. So this just being bigger alone for bigger hands. I know Denny had one. He's very uncomfortable playing it. Obviously, hey, if anyone tells you different, don't let them lie to you. Size does matter. So it's definitely bigger. It looks nice. The Joy-Cons are a little bit different this time around. It seems that they are going to be... the Switch 2 ditches the original Switch's rail connections, which you kind of slide on, for a magnetic snap-on system that should be more user-friendly. Watching that trailer, I watched it go kind of click in. I was like, man, that looks cool, sounds cool. I like that it's a magnetic snap, so I'm super... What?
I'll tell
okay, I'm super excited about that. But the thing that a lot of people were kind of noticing is that it looks like the Joy-Con can also be turned over and used as a mouse. It has like a rolling pad in it, which we're not really sure where that's going to come into play. But if you look at the way it kicks in, the Switch 2 has a big boy kickstand now instead of that little dinky dork on the Switch 1. So it pulls up. It kind of looks like a big tablet now. And I could imagine playing point-and-click games, RTS games, because I believe the buttons are still going to be on your left side. So you're still going to have access to 4 buttons and then clicking it with RB. So it's going to be a little mouse. So it's going to be really exciting to see what they do with that. Now, I know a lot of people were upset that it wasn't an OLED screen. But what you guys are forgetting, or the people that had that argument, was like, dude, the Switch had 3 iterations. There was the base model, the Switch Lite, and then the OLED. Your Nintendo Switch 2 is going to make an OLED model 3 years later. You will buy it, and then they'll make an OLED. They're not going to launch with that. So, I don't know. What do you think? You saw the video. What do you think about the look of Joy-Cons, the screen?
So yeah, I won't have a lot to say about it. I mean, it does look like a superior system. When they showed all the upgrades, I mean, everything they tweaked. They added a button here. They added some inputs, I think. They made the screen bigger. Better hardware was the biggest key thing. So they did make it a better system. The only gripe I had with it was actually the non-sliders, because
really, you like that?
Yeah.
Instead of just clicking them in.
Well, because like with Grace or something, like if he, like, it just seems like a kid who's mad.
Oh, I think you can put them in and still lock it.
Okay, if you can lock it, because all I saw was like it click, and I'm like, dude, what if I just pull it out in anger, or like we're playing Mario Party and like I believe there's a lock. So it's funny. Yeah, okay, so if it locks, that's cool. But this, I was watching it, I'm like, oh man, like I totally
you better
because all I can see is like Grayson going, ugh. So that's funny. So if it locks, cool. Other than that, hardware's better.
Yeah, we'll get the hardware in a second.
Screen's bigger, buttons are better. The mouse thing, I mean, if you're gonna have an input for a mouse, I mean, it's cool for here and there. I'm if it's a mouse at all. I mean, it's all hearsay for now, but it is an innovative feature, which I really enjoy.
It's a cool little gimmick that they had to make it a little unique.
But other than that, they made it. It is a 2.0. They made it better in every single way. It ain't 1.5. It's legit 2.0, and I think they did a great job with it. That video did a good job at showing all the new bells and whistles. So I mean, for what we saw, I thought it was great.
Yeah, and there is keep in mind they've already said that there is going to be a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, which is going to be when we finally get to see the more revealing of the Switch 2 and what it can do, plus all the extra games, which we'll get into right now, because a lot of people are wondering what it's going to launch with. I do want to point out, though, because Andrew kind of pointed out to me, and I didn't even see it. There is a little disclaimer that at the end of the video that says, no, I'm over here, that says Nintendo Switch games will be able to be played on the Switch 2 as well as Switch 2 exclusives, but it says not all Switch games will be able to be played. I looked at it in terms of games that maybe have a unique online saving feature that doesn't transfer over. But the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, what else would qualify? And I think games maybe with some peripherals. So, for example, I have the Ring Fit, which reacts to this. You've seen that circle bending thing to work out with. I'd imagine maybe it's more something like that. That didn't line up with
hardware. Doesn't cross.
Yeah, Switch 2. So even if it's just one game, you've got to put that disclaimer on it. Yeah. And I'd imagine it's less than a handful.
It ain't going to be 20 games, 30 games. So it'll be 1 or 2.
With that being said, a lot of people are wondering what games it's going to come out with day one, and more specifically the launch window, which is usually the first 3 months, and up to that first year. And as of right now, there are a couple games that have already been stated that are definitively coming out for Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 this year. So we're looking at, by the time it comes out, that there's 2 games for sure that are going to be Pokemon Legends Z through A, which is confirmed for 2025, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which was announced in 2017 and re-shown again at last year's Game Awards to be coming out in 2025. So those will be games that will be playable on the Switch 2. As far as the first exclusive game goes, a lot of people are pointing out that what we saw in the video of the Mario Kart is going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game. Now, whether or not they call it Mario Kart 9 or any other derivative title.
Super Blario Kart.
Super Blario. Which I think is a super smart idea because Switch, pun intended, because if you start with a game like Mario Kart, I think it's a really safe bet because Mario Kart 8 is the best-selling Mario Kart game of all time. So anybody that doesn't jump straight into Mario Kart 9 on the Switch 2 is still going to have the best game that is possibly had. There's really nothing that you're going to be missing out on. Just accept the next version. You've already got the best-selling game. And I think what they're looking at to see is if they can catch magic in a bottle again, because Mario Kart 8, between the deluxe and the original one, have been out as long as GTA. They came out back in...
It's their GTA, yeah.
What?
It's their GTA.
Yeah, it came out back in 2014. So I was looking it up, and they're actually, out of all the Mario games in general, they're the best-selling one of all time. Between 8 and 8 Deluxe, they have 72.73 million copies sold. It's surprising that the next one is the original 1985 Super Mario's at 40.24, meaning it's almost doubled it. So
to put that in perspective, it's almost doubled the number 2.
So if you're looking at a game that's already the best-selling on the Switch, why not start your next console with, and hopefully this will be the best-selling game on the Switch, and because it has legs that just keep going and going.
People buy it on any system.
And going. So I think a lot of people are looking at what exclusives they're going to get, and I think people are looking at it the wrong way. The Nintendo Switch 2 first year isn't going to be based on people buying it because it's an exclusive machine, because I was looking at some of their best titles. Pikmin 4 just came out in 2023. You're not going to get that. Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom 2017 to 2023. That's not soon. Kirby Forgotten Land came out 2022. The Mario Parties, we had one in 21 and 24. The closest one you might get for an exclusive might be Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong Returns just came out in January 16, 25. But it's just a remastered port of the one from 2010. So there may be another Donkey Kong coming. But I think the safest bet, if you're looking for exclusives, is Animal Crossing, which came out in New Horizons, which came out in 2020. So this thing's got about 5 years to cook. And if it has been sitting, waiting for it to come out on Switch 2 hardware, I think this is probably the biggest one. Before I get into my other spot, is there anything in exclusives or that opening lineup that you like, don't like, or... Any change of mind?
No, you said it best. For me, Switch is my tertiary system, and we play it occasionally. It's really meant for the kids, meant for a couple of games here and there. I mean, I really like what they're doing with it. That being said, I will buy number 2. I'll put this in Grayson's room. I'll buy number 2. How often I'll play it? So whether or not, like I said, if it's not an exclusive system, as long as you can play all the games that he just bought me Mario Party that I'm cracking into, as long as I can play the stuff I already have on it. Now,
and the online rolls over too.
Okay, so that's my next question. If I'm a digital downloader,
your digital stuff and your online will carry over.
For me, it's fine. I'm not the audience Switch is talking to. I will be a customer, but other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, so I think exclusives isn't going to be what Nintendo Switch 2 is about. What makes this hot for everyone that wants to play it as a main system is it's finally going to be a capable AAA third-party system, because you always have Nintendo in the back seat where Xbox and PlayStation have been shotgun and driver's seat forever, and they always get left behind. They're always a game that's 2 years later or a year later, where this game is going to have quite a bit of power behind it. What they're looking at is that it's got a custom-made NVIDIA T239 processor, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of memory, 60-watt power draw from the upgraded dock, AI-powered NVIDIA upscaling, as well as it's more powerful when docked. What it's speculated to run at is be roughly as powerful between the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, and it's able to match the performance of the Xbox Series X. So if you're looking at if it's capable of doing those, it's no longer going to be the game that waits a year to 2, if ever, to get certain things. Because then, like, the biggest games that are going to be coming out aren't just going to be exclusives for Xbox or PlayStation. You're looking at GTA 6, Borderlands 4, Assassin's Creed Shadow, Like a Dragon, the pirate one. So you're looking at something that's finally on scale to start being formidable and not just be the kid machine or your secondary machine, which a lot of people use it as. You're going to be able to start playing some third-party games. And speculative, one of the reasons that they have made this thing so beefy is because there's speculation that Xbox is going to start moving a lot of titles over to Nintendo Switch. So some of the rumors floating around the Xbox games being planned for Nintendo Switch 2 include Halo, the Master Chief Collection, Fallout 4, and then I was also reading Gears of War. And moving on, it also says Nintendo and Xbox confirmed a 10-year deal back in 2023, which seemed to be focused on getting Call of Duty games on the Nintendo Switch 2. So Nintendo, if they want to keep getting some of these big third-party as well as first-party games for Xbox, you've got to make something bigger. And with that being in mind, it seems like they made the jump, which is what everyone has actually wanted, something that runs powerful. And because I still have the baseline Switch, it's good for Mario games, but there's no way it's ever going to run that. If you're talking about something that's as powerful as the PS4 Pro, that's something that's running Uncharted, that's running Horizon, that's running God of War. You're not missing out on anything. So I think when a lot of people were complaining about missing out on exclusives in the opening window day one, then you're looking at it the wrong way. Look at it in terms of going, you now have a strong third competitor, and if Xbox does fall out of hardware, this is going to be, I mean, obviously number 2 next to the PS5. So It seems like Nintendo's finally stepping up their game.
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you are a one system household, and a lot of people are, and Nintendo is it, the Switch, it needs to beef up its playing capability. So, and I really hope that, because you can dock it and you can play it on a thing on a TV and be fine. So the example I say is because I bought Diablo on the Switch, but I bought it just to be mobile. So I was playing it dock. I'm like, cool, but when I put it on the mobile, it just didn't quite fun. It wasn't quite as fun. I'm like, I'd rather just play my Xbox character, and I bought it.
I have Diablo on Switch too,
and I've never played it since. So the hardware, being able to play the games are one thing, but my biggest thing is I don't buy it to dock it and play it. I mean, I buy it to be mobile. Like, I'll take it to Newport when we go on vacation, or I'm in the car ride. I want the handheld to be just as superior as playing it on the dock version. And I think as long as they can get both of those criteria right, then we're in the game. But that being said, even if they don't, the ability to play at a PS4 Pro level, that's leaps and bounds. That's what they should. Should be the focus of what they do, because they need to have.
You can play Baldur's Gate 3 with
more.
that.
Exactly. They need to be able to have that capability, and just doing that alone puts them into the conversation again.
Nice. So we are running along on this episode, but I have one more thing I want to touch on, and I think these were important things to jump on as our first episode back in. I just want to end it with going what I think Nintendo Switch 2 needs to have. I mean, it was fine if we're gonna let Nintendo Switch slide. We've been letting it slide for a while because that's just what Nintendo was. But if Nintendo's stepping up and it's going to become this system that's more than just its past and it's now its predecessor, one of the big things I need it to have, which every system can do flawlessly, is it needs to have a party chat in-game system, because as far as I know, I think you still need to use the app through a phone or a tablet, because when me and my friends get together and we play Mario Kart or we play Smash Brothers or anything like that, we use Discord. And if Nintendo's going to step up, it needs to have an online infrastructure that supports a headset and a chat system. And if it's going to be as strong as we think it is, that shouldn't be a problem. And if that is still going to be a problem, I think it's going to be a major hiccup. Was there anything you want to see out of the Switch 2?
I think that if on the wants that most people want is Xbox has achievements, PlayStation has trophies, I really think the Switch needs to step up with some type of system that allows you to get points and scores for a game. For me, that's what I like seeing that. I think it would be sort of an incentive to play games a little bit more.
Yeah, fully.
And it catalogs, you hit this achievement. I mean, we all know. I really think Nintendo needs to have something like that.
Would you rather them have equal achievements where you collect maybe star points and you get a star point level, or would you want it more like PlayStation where they have trophies? Maybe you get badges. You know what I mean? You get like a mushroom badge, flower badge, star badge is a platinum.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you like the badges?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was kind of thinking too about that, and I love that
because if they're mushrooms, I like that.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are two things that I think.
I don't care what they do as long as I get it.
Yeah, because it's like Indiana Jones. There's a part in it that says you can beating a game and just beelining it is one thing, but if there's a point, one of them's exploring the rest of the jungle, getting to the back part of it. It's like in a Mario game. It's like if I don't need to go there, I'm not going to. But if you're gonna give me 50 points and my score can start going up, make it arcadey. Nintendo was one of the last arcadey type systems, but you didn't give me a score system. So I think that's a definitely good one. So anything else you want to add on this lengthy episode?
Love it.
Alrighty, guys. So that is the end. I had two pages of notes for this. That don't happen often. That is the end, guys, of episode 208. Join us next time on episode 209. Until next time, guys, my name is Craig Perales. This handsome fellow is Geno Perales. And until then, cheers.